Okay, that was one that we it was a pumper truck it was not a truck. It was a pump, a water pump. It was pumped by manpower. And it was on a wagon, and you pulled the wagon to the far that had the pump on it, and you hooked the pump up to the hydrant. If you had a hydrant, otherwise you pumped out of whatever source of water you had at maybe it was a pond, or maybe it was a swimming pool in the backyard. Any place that there was available water, you could pump with this hand pump into a stream, which you fought the fire with. Otherwise, it was man-powered. That was in the very beginning. That was before we even bought a pumper truck. And we had, through grant money, that was applied for through the state Firemen's Association, give us grant money to buy other equipment for the fire department, and the pumper truck was one of the first that we bought, which contained a tank on it of about 1,000 gallon, I think.
1,000 gallon
on the tank, and it had a pump that was run by the front end, driven by the front end of the motor, and it sat on the front end of the truck. And it was driven by the engine of the truck itself. Well, the reason for that is so that we can boost our water pressure in our hose up above what the city water pressure would be on the hydrant. And it's only about 60 pounds on the hydrant, where we could pump up to 200 pounds on the pumper, which would carry the water from the pumper truck in a line to where you had laid the line for the house that was burning. You always went to the house first and dropped your hose, started your hose, left your hose nozzle at the fire, and took the pumper truck to the fire hydrant, where you connected up to the hydrant, leaving the hose that you had rip-wrapped on the back of your truck on top of this 1,000-gallon tanker. And if I remember right, it was about a block long, which would be around 300 feet of hose in the back of the pumper truck. And they still today, they fight it the same way. Anyway, if they have a pump-mounted truck. Now, we do have tanker trucks that have auxiliary pumpers on the back of them, and it pressurizes, like if you're fighting a fire out, a wheat fire or stubble fire or something like that, and driving along to put out a wheat fire or a grass fire. You can drive and use, and the fireman will ride on the back of the truck spraying the wheat field or pasture land or something, whatever's on fire in the country. And there's two types. There's one that's on a tanker truck, which we still have at the fire department now for fighting country fires. And that was also a grant that we got, and it was some of the military supply.
Yeah, at Fort
Riley.
Fort Riley.
They donated that truck to us. The wheels on the truck are 4 feet high.
Yeah,
right. And that's so you can get out into plowed fields. And it's real hard to get one of them stuck. Well, it depends on a lot how many men showed up at the fire department. We got to remember we were a volunteer fire department, and I've went on to several fires just myself, and one fireman. We went on a trailer house fire in Cheney, and one of my lady firemen, auxiliary firemen, we called them, and they had to take training and everything just like the men. And she showed up, but there wasn't any other firemen that showed up, so we both went to the fire. And of course, I took the pumper truck up, and she rode the pumper truck with me. And we drove to the fire where the trailer was on fire, and so I had to drop the hose off for her to have the hose there to go into the trailer. And I took the fire truck with the front bumper down a half a block to the west there. The trailer court was on 391st Street, I think, there in town. But anyway, and I started the pump truck and went back down to the where she was at with the hose. Because after I got the pumper truck, it would run on its own, push your line up, and it'd run on its own. And I went back down to where the fire was, and a guy by the name of Steve Gardner.
No, Steve.
He's on our coffee group. But he came down there and he said, he introduced himself and he said, I'm a Wichita fireman. He said, I have my bunker gear in the back. Can I help you? And I said, you sure can. So anyway, Steve, so I went back down to the pump where the pump truck was, and he helped her continue putting wire in the trailer. And anyway, he came down and joined the volunteer fireman, even though he lived outside the city. But anyway, we became real good buddies because he had a lot of training that I hadn't had, and I was interested in what training he had also, being a paid fireman. Oh, well, in the very beginning, we had raincoats like the farmers wore, and boots like rubber boots like they would have wore to the barn, in rainy weather. And that's the only, and our helmets was, I'm trying to remember, they were long and diagonal helmets, but they wasn't, didn't meet the qualifications of a fireman helmet. But anyway, that's what we had in the very beginning was raincoats and rubber boots. Yeah, they were all hung on there. And of course, the firemen, when they came in, they went got their fire jackets on, which wasn't much protection. Yeah, we called them auxiliary firefighters. They were the women. It was called a women auxiliary group. And we didn't, I really don't remember having any more than two or three women.
Is Kathleen Isaac was one.
Yeah.
And Dawn Pipkin's wife was the other one, but I don't remember her name.
But they also would prepare, we had dinners and stuff to raise money for the fire department.
We had a group of women, the wives of some of the firemen. They would get together. We would get together and have dinners and raise money for the equipment and the gear that they used, protective gear that they used. We had a bike-a-thon. We had dinners. We had sometimes we would have like chili dinner and just different things where the wives would get together and raising money for different things for the.
And we'd have deals like for the old time firemen.
Yeah, we would have dinners. Well, here's one at the park. A dinner at the park, and we would, and then sometimes we would just decide to have something, and we would have bike-a-thons sometimes.
Yeah, the kids would, you paid the kids so much every mile they would ride, bike-a-thons, the kids of the farming. And if they rode that many miles, then they got that money that was donated to them for so much a mile. It just, we come up with everything that we could think of to have fundraisers of some kind.